Here we are back to tie some jigs. And what I'd like to do today is maybe tie something for ice fishing. It also works really good with panfish, perch, summertime crappie. I guess guys in Florida will use this same ice fishing jig, and they will fish it between lily pads in Florida for crappie, just like we would do here up north during the hard water season. So what we're going to tie is a 1/8 saddle hackle for the collar, and we have a chenille just for some flash. So this will be, a little bit different than our hair jigs. Something just quick and easy, but they really work very well. Like I said, ice fishing and panfish. So our tools, we're going to use just a regular, our X-Acto knife. Got my barber scissors, and we're going to do away with the size A thread. I'm going to go with a 2-aught thread today. Just because it's a smaller jig. And color-wise, thread, you could use any color. Same with the hackle. I like using black. This color combination, the chartreuse with the fluorescent orange nose. Like I said before, we're using a 1/8 football head. You can use any similar jig. Something similar size, a ball head. I like using shad darts for this pattern also. This head actually, it has a Mustad 32762. It's a size 6 hook. We're using thread 2-aught. In this situation I'm using black. The chenille is just a plain silver. This is manufactured by the Danville Chenille Company, and this size I believe is what they call 1/aught. They do make thicker strands depending on the size of the jig head you're using. You might want a little bit thicker size, but we're going to do 2 or 3 wraps of this, so it's going to be a fairly good size collar. It'll be enough. It'll be enough tinsel, enough flash to attract the fish. And then hackle wise, I'm just using a dyed saddle hackle, and unlike fly tying, I'm not too terribly worried about length. In this situation, like I said, we have a size 6 hook, but the saddle that I would prefer lengthwise is probably closer to about a 10. So what we want, and we'll discuss this a little bit more as we add it, is you want enough fibers so you get a little action. They're going to move a little bit in the water, so you don't want them. I don't like them terribly long. I don't want them. My personal preference, wouldn't want them longer than the jig itself, really. But this is a size 6 hook, and the pieces that I picked are roughly a size 10 saddle. So the bags I have of them for this type of jig, the saddle hackle I use is loose, and I just separate them into a small, medium, extra small for the jigs that I'm tying. But first thing we do to get started is you just lock your thread on, just like you're tying a regular jig. And out of habit, I always go down about halfway down the shank of the hook and then back up to the head. And then when I tie these, I'll do about a dozen or 2 at a time. I'll cut a piece of chenille that's almost 12 inches long, maybe a little bit shorter, just so I'm not handling the yarn ball itself. So I peel off a little bit of the silver just to expose the thread. We're just going to lock that on. Easy. And we're going to wrap this near the head, so it's not extended down the shank much at all. I give this about 4 turns for this size head. We lock it on and we'll trim our chenille. And then our hackle, we'll do the same thing. I'm going to just strip the fibers from the end of the hackle, and I'll lock this into place between the chenille and the head. And I can just trim that pliers, and I'm going to give this, let's see, 1, 2, and that's a nice collar, so I'm just going to give it a 1/3, and I bring my hackle in front of my thread, so when I pull my thread up and around, it locks it into place. My pliers slipped off the tip here, but I like to keep the pliers on just so I can, well, let's see, put a little tension on the end there so I can just cut the tip off and throw it in my waste bag. So let's give this just a couple more wraps just to, I know that that's locked on good. And I'm going to finish this off very simply, just like before on all my other jigs. Piece of thread about 12 inches long, I fold it in half to make a loop, and I pass it underneath my thread and bring it up on top of my jig. And for this, just a couple, 1, 2, 3. Keep the tension between the jig head and my hand with the thread. I can pick up this tag end, place it through the loop, pull it through, trim my thread. This to finish it off, I use my Wapsi head cement. I just add a dab, just enough to penetrate the threads, soak in, and once dry, that's not going nowhere. This jig, we call it the Pro Football. Perfect ice fishing jig. Catch a lot of fish on that.